It was tough and it wasn't pretty, but in the last preseason game, the Chargers showed they found several hidden gems who showcased their talents. This was the last chance for players like Nico Reed, Marlo Wax, or Randy Godson to prove that they belong in the league, and they did it in a big way. I'm Sam Peña, a Bolt fan in the Berg here at Digest Media, where we talk about all things Lightning. And there's a lot to take away from the 49ers game that just finished about 20 minutes ago. And when we're looking at this game in a wide perspective, it really showcased the talents of not just Joe Hortiz to find hidden talents, but also to build depth on this roster. So let's talk about it. I think the first thing you have to mention when we're talking about this game is Nico Reed, and that's really where all of preseason starts for the Chargers. Reed's been excellent since the moment he entered the Chargers team. When you look at his first preseason game against the Lions, he obviously had that pick six. He had another interception against the Saints. He's had a number of pass deflections. The Athletics' Daniel Popper said he's been one of the standouts at most of the practice sessions the Chargers have had. He also is someone who showcased that he can be a consistent player on the outside or on the inside, playing a little bit in the slot as well. Nico's strengths, though, were really showcased against the Niners. He had a couple of big plays, including a third down pass breakup on an in-cut route by the Niners that he just managed to get a hand on and knock away. And then he had a catch by Robbie Chosen where he just completely stood him up, made it look like Chosen, who's an NFL veteran, was playing in a different league altogether. Reed's an interesting one because when you look at him from a size perspective and athleticism perspective, he doesn't really fit the NFL mold. I mean, when we're talking about his RAS score, he had one of the worst out of all the prospects coming into the draft. He played he's originally California native, but then he was going to Colorado for the first couple years in college football. Then he transferred over to Oregon, which is where he really stood out as a starter. He didn't go to the combine, but at his pro day, he did run the 40-yard dash, which was acceptable at 4.46. But taking a look at his RAS score right here, you can see he had an abysmal score, and that's mainly because of his size. He's only 5'9", and he weighed in at 182 pounds. Dare I say this is a little Jason Verretti for the Chargers. Chargers fans know that name well. He seemed like someone who was an incredible talent, but he was also only 5'9", and he suffered injury after injury after injury. Now, not all small players have injury issues. There's been a lot of players who have been small. Tyrann Mathieu is on the smaller side, and yet he played for quite some time in the league. So you can be small and still succeed at the corner position. But generally speaking, you have to have outstanding athletic traits. And for the most part, you didn't really see any of that. You don't see much burst out of him. His vertical jump, his broad jump, pretty poor numbers in both those regards. His three-cone was okay. His shuttle score was really poor, though. If you're going to be small, you better be fast and quick. He's just all right. That's why he wasn't drafted. That's why he was available for the Chargers. But I think there's two things you really can't teach when it comes to playing corner in the league. The first one is instincts, and then the second is timing. Both of those things where you just have to have them innately. And I think Reed has both of those. He understands coverages very well. He understands route concepts very well. He's able to break on the ball very quickly. He's always getting to the point before anyone else is. And I think he's proven because of that he deserves at the very least an end of the roster spot. I know it's going to be really competitive and tough for him to make this team just because the Chargers secondary is really deep. Daniel Popper, though, has said that they haven't really settled when it comes to their starters at this point. Tarheeb still looks like he's a lock for one of those positions, but it's been a mix of Dante Jackson, Benjamin St-Juste at the other corner spot. So there is time, there is opportunity for Reed there, but I think if you look at the position, he's behind Still, he's behind Hart, he's behind Jackson, he's behind St-Juste. Then at that point, I know Chargers fans don't want to hear this, but he's probably behind Jazir Taylor at this point. So objectively, it's going to be really tough to make the roster. 6 corners, it's been done. It's been done. I don't know if it's going to be done this year by the Chargers. I think they're going to go with those 5. I personally would put Reed on the roster at this point. I think he's proven it. At the very least, he's worth the practice squad stash at this point. But I definitely think he's the hidden gem so far of this team. The other guy who really showed out tonight is another undrafted rookie, and that's Marlo Wax. Wax was phenomenal in the limited time that he had tonight. When you look at his time on the Chargers. He's from Syracuse originally. He didn't really get heralded when he was signed as an undrafted free agent, mostly because the Chargers seem to be settled at inside linebacker. You've got Deion Henley, you've got Junior Colson, you've got Denzel Perryman. So it didn't really seem like there's an opportunity there for him. Troy Dye is a special teams guy. Marlowe Wax, though, was someone who I definitely had an eye on, and that's because he profiles very similar, actually, to Deion Henley. This is his RAS score. Obviously, he's small. Only 6 feet tall, 227 pounds. Especially at inside linebacker, that's probably going to be a problem. But you can see the athleticism. He's fast, he's quick, he's instinctual. He had an insane performance tonight. He had a 3-play sequence where he made a quick tackle in coverage for a short gain. Then he had a tackle for loss in the run game. And then immediately followed that up with a sack fumble that was recovered by Caleb Murphy, another young undrafted free agent who's showcasing his skills for the Chargers too. Wax was just everywhere tonight against the Niners, and he's kind of been that way through most of practice. According to most of the beat reporters like Chris Rim, Daniel Popper, they've all said that he's someone who's been a little bit on the radar for the team. Jim Harbaugh, when he was shouting out players during one of his press conferences, Marlowe Wax was one of the names that immediately came to mind. His time at Syracuse, he played very well for the team there as well. He actually went through a lot, overcame quite a few struggles to be able to make the team. And then coming into the NFL, wasn't very heralded, even though he had that amazing athleticism. I think mostly just because of that size. I think teams were kind of scared about that. But he really showed up well in the preseason. He really showed up tonight, especially against the Niners. I think he's worthy of a look. Again, inside linebacker, very competitive position for the Chargers right now. But it's hard to take it away from him at this point. You look at the team, you look at what they have available to them, and it feels like they have to give him that spot. Again, he profiles very similar to Deion, who's only 6 foot as well. And Deion last year led the team with 147 combined tackles and 84 solo tackles. Deion was borderline an all-pro there last season. So I think there's an opportunity here for Marlowe, even if it's not something that is immediately going to happen. I think he has a chance for playing time later in the year if the Chargers can stash him on the practice squad. If that's the case, we're looking at potentially an opportunity for him to get some playing time late in the year. Now, the last player I want to talk about tonight is Gadsden. He's the other Syracuse rookie for the Chargers. He was actually drafted in the 6th round, though. Again, kind of proving that Joe Hortiz just knows how to find talent. He knows how to find those hidden gems in the draft. Keandre Lambert-Smith has already looked phenomenal. Last year, both Still and Cam Hart, they were taken in the 5th round. They've both been phenomenal. Now Gadsden in the 6th. He's been the guy who all the beat reporters have had their eye on. I know Chris Rim has said that he's gotten a lot of playing time recently with the Chargers, and even Justin Herbert has started to notice this as well. When you look at training camp practices just a few weeks ago, Herbert was actually quoted as saying that anytime I can get him the ball out there and see what he can do, he's made some big-time plays. We've got an exciting tight end group, and he's going to be a big piece of the puzzle for that. Herbert hasn't really had a tight end who can truly threaten defenses since Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry was obviously a good player, but, I mean, let's be real, he's not Antonio Gates or Rob Gronkowski. And I don't think Gadsden is that either, but Henry definitely provided a legitimate threat that defenses had to worry about when he was on the Chargers, specifically for defenses that played a lot of cover 3 because they always had to be watching the seam throws. Gadsden has been eating the seams alive all training camp. He definitely has been doing that in the preseason as well. The touchdown he had today was absolutely beautiful. It was a great throw, first of all, by DJ. But then for Gadsden to be able to showcase his ability to high point the football and make the catch, all of those skills are going to be very, very important for the Chargers to be a threat offensively this year. I know Chargers fans right now are a bit down on the season because of the Rashawn Slater injury. And let's be honest, that's going to be a problem. The offensive line is going to be a problem. We were already questioning it going into the year because of Bozeman and Johnson. Now Pipkins is back into the starting lineup. This is going to be an issue, but players like Gadsden give me hope. Players like Reed give me hope. Players like Marlowe Wax give me hope. 2 of the 3 might not even be on the roster. But if they're on the practice squad, injuries might happen. If they get called up, I think they can play very well at the pro level. And I think that's the big takeaway from this preseason game. For the first time in years, it genuinely feels like the Chargers have depth. That's something that I was very critical of Tom Telesco on during his time with the team. It's something I can't say so far for Joe Hortiz. He's managed to build a team that has backups that can come in and fill in admirably. And it's because of that I think Chargers fans should be excited about the 2025 season. Thank you guys all so much for watching tonight. I'm Sam Peña for Digest Media. Remember to bolt up, Bolt Nation, and I'll see you guys next time.